Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for part 2. I just wanted to clarify over here in the Greek this word that looks like the first part of Yesh or Yeshua. It actually means indeed. I didn't mean to imply that it's the name of the kinsman redeemer, but I believe that just the fact that it's mentioned in there where it's talking about the other kinsman redeemer, as well as in the Hebrew where it's saying there is or there exists another kinsman that's nearer than I think it's making a veiled reference to who that kinsman redeemer is prophetically that's near. Of course, he's talking about someone at that time, but I believe prophetically it's referring to Yeshua, and it's giving little clues here in the text as to who it's referring to. But it continues to say, tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then I will do the part of a kinsman to thee. As the Lord liveth, lie down until morning. And she lay at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before one could know another, and he said, let it not be known that a woman came into the floor. And this is very important because this is coming up in verse 14, and this is the actual consummation of the covenant, just like in Zechariah 14, I believe it's referring to the consummation of the covenant. It's also on Nisan 14 when the veil was rent in twain from top to bottom. It was in Exodus 14 when the Red Sea was parted. And so over here we have the consummation of the covenant, and this is occurring on the threshing floor, which is where the chaff is separated from the wheat. But over here, if you look at these words, you'll see that this is referring to the consummation of the covenant, because it says, and she lay at his feet till morning, and she rose up. And if you look at the word rose up, I'll look at it in the Hebrew first. Over here it says to rise, arise, stand up. And all these other words over here make binding. It's interesting. But if you look at it in the Greek, it's this word over here, anesti, and this is the word that you get the word resurrection from. Okay, I'll just show it to you right here. It's Strong's 450, and as you can see, it comes from this word, and it means I raise up, set up, rise from. And over here it says I rise from among the dead, and it's the word that you actually get the word resurrection from. Okay, so this word is anastosine. It comes from the word anastemi, but if you put in the word resurrection, you see that it's this word anastasis, and so it's a different Strong's number, but it's just a variation of the same word. And so you see that means resurrection. So this is Strong's 386, and the other word was Strong's 450, but they both mean the same thing. It means to rise from the dead. Okay, and it originally came from this word. Anesti was the form that was used over here. So it says she rose towards him, and this word can mean resurrection as well as rising. And over here it says, before a man can know another, is how it said it in the Hebrew over here, before one can know another, I'll just read it from the beginning. It says, and she lay at his feet until morning, and she rose up before one could know another. And if you look at this in the Greek, it says, it has this word epi, and then this word means to know. And this means I come to know, discern, recognize. So before anyone could recognize or discern or perceive it, okay, so it says, and so before a man can perceive or know another, and this word right here is this word means blision, and I can show you this word in the Greek. Okay, it's this word over here. It means near, nearby, or neighbor, but it's a form of this word over here. You see that this word means neighbor, and so this is the noun form, and this is the verb form, which means to come near. And if you look at this word in the Greek, it means bring near, and if you look at the extended definition, it says bring near, come near, approach, draw near, approach, consort, associate with, have sexual intercourse with. Okay, so it's saying before a man can know the one that is near or in close proximity to, which can also mean to have sexual intercourse with. And said Boaz, don't, okay, let it be known, this word means let it be known, that came a woman to the threshing floor. Okay, and then it goes on to say, also he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her, and she went into the city. And I've talked about before how I believe the 6 measures of barley, that once again this is referring to the transformation, because it was when I did a table on the word eureka, which means I found it in the Greek, because I was looking for a synonym for the word surprise, because when Jesus comes back it's going to be a surprise, and one of the synonyms that came up was this word in the Greek, which means I found it, the word eureka. And when it came up where it says in Luke 13:21 that the kingdom of God is like unto leaven, which a woman hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened. And it was when I did this table that it dawned on me that the 3 measures of meal actually refers to a codon, that this is referring to DNA. Because if you look at the word hid in Luke 13:21, in the Greek it's the word encrypto, which means encrypted. It's where we get the word encrypted from. It means to conceal something, but it's also the word that we get the word encrypted from, and that's what DNA is. It's an encrypted code. And so it just dawned on me that this must have something to do with DNA, and so I believe it's the codon in Ruth chapter 3. I believe it's talking about the codon being matched up with the anticodon. Okay, and so I don't want to get into too much detail about that, but I believe when Boaz laid the 6 measures of barley into Ruth's veil, when he told her to hold out her veil and he laid the 6 measures of barley, I believe this is a reference to DNA and the restoration of the DNA. But getting back to Ruth, it goes on to say, and when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, "Who art thou, my daughter?" And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said, "These 6 measures of barley gave he me, for he said to me, Go not empty unto thy mother-in-law." Then said she, "Sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished this thing this day." So he will not be in rest until he have finished this thing this day. And this is coming up in verse 18. And that's the very last verse in this chapter. Okay, so when you go to chapter 4, you see that the near kinsman redeemer was not able to redeem her, and so Boaz did the part of the kinsman redeemer, and he said unto the elders and unto all the people, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Kilion's and Mahlon's at the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place you are witnesses." And so it's interesting that it's mentioning the witnesses over here in 4:10, which adds up to 14, and this is when he purchased Ruth to be his wife. So again, you have the number 14 is what it adds up to, and it's 14 backwards, and then it mentions the witnesses again here in verse 11. And then when you get to verse 13, it says that the Lord gave Ruth conception, and she bare a son. And so I believe this all represents the consummation of the covenant, and this is a type and shadow of the bride. Ruth is a type and shadow of the bride. Okay, and so what happened is I wanted to explain that the threshing floor is actually located on the Temple Mount, that it's the most holy place. It's in New Jerusalem. And I remembered that the threshing floor is actually a plot of land that was purchased by David originally, and it was referred to as Mount Moriah. And so I wanted to confirm that and confirm the location of the threshing floor. And so I had put in the terms David and Mount Moriah so I could see where that was located on the map. And I came up with these images over here, and as you can see, it looks like a peninsula is what this is shaped like. So you can see over here you've got Jerusalem and the temple, Mount Solomon's temple over here, and this right here is the city of David, and so it's shaped like a peninsula. And I also put in city of David, and I came up with some more images, and so again you can see what it looks like. You have the Kidron Valley on this side. I believe it's the Valley of Jehoshaphat is on the other side of it. And then I thought it was interesting that you have a city over here called Jebus, which obviously sounds like Jesus. But the important thing is that this is where the threshing floor is located. And it's on the threshing floor where the wheat is separated from the chaff. And so this is the event that will separate the wheat from the chaff